All right, I'm Cameron Leffler, and our debate topic is, does technology make us more connected? I'm arguing the pro side with Ethan German, and we're arguing that technology does make us more connected. My first argument is that technology can help teach people with autism spectrum disorder to socialize better. The population of people with autism spectrum disorder, and especially children with the disorder, often have difficulty socializing and communicating with their peers in an efficient manner, which leads to many social and mental health deficits. However, in recent times, many members of the psychological community have been experimenting with using indirect methods of socializing to help children specifically with autism spectrum disorder to learn what healthy socialization looks like and how to participate in conversations with peers. One of the top methods being used today is computer games, primarily virtual reality games in which the player controls an avatar which is used to socialize with other avatars being controlled by other players. Doctors Feng Qi and Tammy Im performed a study along with associates Xingrang Zhu, Hao Zhu, Namju Kim, and Sungwon Lee, in which they used a virtual reality computer game to observe and help teach children with autism spectrum disorder to socialize healthily in different settings, such as a cafeteria or birthday party. They found that through the use of the avatars, the children had an easier time coming out of their shells in a way that allowed them to have conversations with the adult observers and other children with far more ease. Much of this was observed to be caused by shadow mentors or adult facilitators in the computer lab with the children while they played the game. These adults would give the children hints on how subject. What? Oh. On how they should be socializing in the game, almost like a little voice in their heads giving them small pushes in the right direction. Through this guiding behavior, the children were able to pick up on smaller social cues that they wouldn't have before due to their disorder. In observation by adults in their classroom settings, after the study, the children showed improvement in socialization with their classmates. This goes to show that through the use of virtual reality and computer therapy, children with autism spectrum disorder can learn how to socialize better and create stronger connections with their peers. My second argument is that social connection through the internet can promote mental health in cyber victims and other victim groups. Social connectedness has always been an important part of maintaining a healthy mental state, and with the rise of technology in the modern age, many studies have focused on how this has negatively impacted the mental health of youth, particularly concerning the act of cyberbullying, which is a harmful behavior that does negatively affect many youths on the internet. However, it is also important to consider the positive value of being able to stay connected with peers through the internet. In a study performed by Larissa McLaughlin, Barbara Spears, and Carmel Taddeo from the University of South Australia, subjects with ages ranging from 12 to 17 were surveyed over their experience with cyberbullying in the past and how they coped with it. Of those subjects, 26.6% reported being victims of cyberbullying, while another 30.6% reported being both a victim of cyberbullying as well as a cyberbully themselves, with 57.2% of the population having experienced being a cyber victim. It is believed that this is and shall continue to be a regularly occurring form of social interaction through the internet. However, the study continues to question these minors on how they coped with the cyberbullying and whether or not social connection with others through the internet helped them. Those subjects who were socially connected through the internet with others showed a positive correlation to turn to active coping methods as opposed to other methods documented in the survey such as denial, distraction, and even substance use. This evidence goes to show that even though social connection through the internet can lead to negative interactions such as cyberbullying, the social connectedness of the internet still leads to healthy interaction and plays a significant part in promoting social connectedness and mental health in young people in the world today. My third argument is that the internet can be used as a tool to lessen social isolation amongst seniors. A serious problem in the senior community when it comes to mental health is social isolation. When seniors lose the ability to socialize how they had in the past, many spend days or weeks alone. However, with social media, many have found ways to remain connected to those around them and family members. A systematic review of communication technology on reducing social isolation amongst the elderly was performed by Yiru Chen, Regina Schultz, and Associates in 2016. comparing many different studies concerning the elderly and their social connectedness through technology. Their overall findings show many different things, such as how one of the 18 studies, supposed to say 15, not 1. 15 of the 18 studies that were examined showed a significant reduction of loneliness amongst the elderly using information communication technology. Technologies that were studied throughout this examination ranged from landline phones to the Wii, a TV gaming system. A consistent pattern was shown throughout these studies, leading us to believe that communication technology is an effective means for the elderly to remain connected with others. Yep.
Ethan Garman, pro side, technology does help individuals connect. My first argument is communication relies solely on location in order to determine the medium by which individuals communicate. So in other words, if two people are in the same room, they're more likely to talk face to face. But if those two people are in separate states, they're more likely to use technology in order to communicate. Ian Smith, Sonny Consolvo, Anthony Lamarsa, Jeffrey Hightower, James Scott, Timothy Son, Jeff Hughes, Giovanni Iacello, and Gregory D. Aboy all contributed to publishing Social Disorder of Place from Location Technology to Communication Practices on May 8, 2005. In their article, they state that people exchange location information with family, friends, or other associates. Their study examines the form of technology used to communicate as well as the three uses they have. The authors found that the top three uses of technology to communicate are to keep in touch with friends and acquaintances, to coordinate and schedule physical encounters and phone calls, and just to basically chat. The first two uses need location within the conversation in order to take place. The authors studied 8 participants, 4 men, 4 women, in an experiment where they recorded the participants' location upon arrival and departure. Their experiment lasted 5 days, which was roughly 120 to 140 hours. They found an abundant amount of information circulated between the participants. Analyzing the total amount of time spent on the phone, 53% of that time was spent during the 5-day experiment, so they were on their phone 53% of the time during the, the participants used their phone about 7 to 8 times on average throughout the day. The authors also determined that the amount of times that participants' location was revealed depended on the strength of that relationship between the participants. The stronger the relationship, the more likely the participants are to share their location. And usually spouses had the closest relationship. 45% of all locations shared between spouses, or between people who are to a spouse or partner. This technology shows that people need technology, this article shows that people need technology in order to have face-to-face interactions in today's society. They use technology in order to coordinate and plan interactions. Otherwise, people would have to plan future interactions, in-present interactions, or past interactions. Also, these interactions would have to be spontaneous and unplanned. Technology also helps individuals stay connected, even when distances between them are great. People use technology to initiate social interactions that help prolong and strengthen their relationship. Technology is needed in today's society because its development has changed the way we communicate. People are more likely to go on longer trips and go further away from home. They're more likely to move from town to town or to different states. All because technology has allowed us to only be a phone call, a text message, or an email away. This allows us to feel safer and more comfortable when we venture far from home. Argument 2, technology-mediated communication helps influence industrial buyer behavior for the better. Jason B. MacDonald and Kirk Smith published The Effects of Technology-Mediated Communication on Industrial Buyer Behavior in 2003. This article describes the positive effects technology-mediated communication has on the buyer satisfaction level. MacDonald is an assistant professor at the marketing at Boise State University, and his co-author, Kirk Smith, is an associate professor for the same university. They decided that satisfaction, trust, commitment, and future intentions are all essential in the purchasing process. Satisfaction is needed in order to increase the probability of repeat purchasing. Trust is one of the keys to long-term buyer-seller relationships. They define trust as the willingness to rely on an exchange partner in whom one has confidence. Commitment is the desire to prolong and support an important relationship. It can be present even when trust is not. Businesses use technology with future intentions of saving money by building relationships. These all come together to create long-lasting business-related relationships that are built through technology-mediated communication. McDonald and Smith determined that customer satisfaction is decided by repeat sales, positive spoken communication, and customer loyalty. McDonald and Smith conducted a latent variable structural equation for their testing. They found that sellers use technology-mediated communication. They found that sellers' use of technology-mediated communication was positively correlated to the increase in buyer satisfaction. The amount of trust and commitment present in the relationship also increased the seller's amount of satisfaction they had with technology-mediated communication. Altogether, they found that satisfaction, trust, commitment, and future interactions or intentions have a direct positive effect on buyers' future intentions to purchase. This article just shows that technology-mediated communication is essential in industrial business relationships. It gives 4 key traits that need to be present in a business relationship. It also gives evidence as to why technology-mediated communication is used in today's businesses to make them convenient and cost-effective. The study taken in this article shows that satisfaction, trust, commitment, and future intentions all play crucial roles in developing and maintaining business relationships. Technology-mediated communication is used in our businesses to help prolong the existence of the company, making it obvious that we too need to use this medium in our daily social interactions to help prolong the relationships we have or are currently making. Argument 3, the internet can help assist in family therapy. Storm A. King, Susan Engie, and Stephen Polos published Using the Internet to Assist Family Therapy in February of 1998, an article that explores the many uses the internet can have on assisting family therapy. They explained in many cases one or more family members could be separated and live in different states several miles away. The internet helped connect these families, allowing them to engage in the therapy itself. They believe that maintaining a close connection with family members who have moved away prolongs the relationship of that family. The authors examined the advantages of using technology-mediated communication in family therapy. The first advantage is the assurance that the family members can communicate and interact according to their own schedules. They're not dependent on the therapist schedules or the psychologist's hours in order to get the therapy that they need. Another advantage is the family member has time in between messages to fully consider what they're going to say. They also describe how emails among family members can leave permanent memories. They used a study in which families were shown videotapes of their own sessions. These families experienced elevated levels of change within the family. The family members were able to better understand the session as a whole and the interactions that took place between them. Just the same, if it is a written record of the family's interactions, the family members are able to review what was said between them. Technology-mediated communication within family therapy is an effective strategy. It allows therapists to use therapeutic techniques within the family to influence positive change. The internet allows distant family members to feel included in the therapy session, whereas they would have never been included if the internet was not there. This article shows that technology is needed in today's society to help prolong the relationships between family members and the rest of society as a whole.
I have just one point.
Go ahead.
Okay. For the cyberbullying, I was also writing about this in my side, and I feel like you are talking about how the positive and negative side of that. And I think the negative side is like much more obvious, more evidence, like how because of the characteristics of internet, like you don't need to be responsible, so you have like less fear of being caught if you do the cyberbullying. So not only, and also like the research show for the victim in traditional cyberbullying, they also suffer from the online, like the cyber, no, like, okay, go over again. For the traditional bullying victims, like in reality, they also suffering from the cyber, in the cyber environment, and it leads to like more severe situation.
Are we allowed to like say something back to that, or do we just have to stay quiet?
You can.
Oh, we can. Okay. Well, you were going on more of how they get over it rather than the bullying itself, weren't you?
Yeah, and another argument to be made is it's still a form of social connection through the internet, whether or not it's positive or negative for the victim.
Well, my points is how you were saying that it can help cyberbullying victims get over it. Being a victim of cyberbullying was linked to chronic health problems found in adulthood. C-reactive protein levels were raised from victimization of cyberbullying, lower synthetic inflammation in the body, and an increase in risk of cardiovascular disease, metabolic disorders, and mental health problems were linked to victimization of cyberbullying. Blood tests revealed that CPR levels of bullied adolescents increased as they were bullied. The same blood tests carried out in adulthood showed that the same CRP levels were twice as high even after they recovered. So initially, it still has a long-term effects on people. And then also with your point, saying how social isolation with elderly can be improved through social interaction through the technology. A survey conducted with Australian seniors found that negative correlations such as loneliness and well-being were tied to the internet use. And then how you said technology can assist in family therapy. Surveys reported internet users spending less time with family and friends, causing more loneliness and social isolation. So those are my points.
I would just have to say that was among like family members as a whole, whereas this is just like family therapy in general. So the families that are connected enough to go to therapy, if not all family members can be present, then they use the internet in order to help them communicate and get their points across to each other. So it's not, I don't know how I want to say this. It's not necessarily like the common family life. It's those families who need to go to therapy and need the help that and the internet can offer to help them and help them get over it with anyone that they need to talk to that's not, in the same room as them.
I was like, it doesn't matter.
Okay, mine is really short. Okay, so our debate I'm Robin Chen, and our debate topic is does technology make us more connected? And I'm in the con-side. Yeah, technology does not make us more connected. My first argument is technology leads to greater conflicts in couples' relationship. In one research, a lot of scholars found out that obsessive passion toward the internet was related with the greater conflicts and the lower self-determination, as well as lower level of dyadic adjustment in the couple's relationship. In an experiment, the researcher gathered 97 women and 86 men who involved in the relationship to complete the questionnaire that asked for individuals' passion toward the internet, motivation toward the couple's relationship. By using the passion scale, we determined the obsessive and harmonious passion, motivation towards the couple's relationship skills, and other several standards which related to research. Researchers investigate the correlation between those variables, and the model demonstrate that the obsessive passion toward the internet did lower the self-determination as well as dietic adjustment, which increased the frequency of conflicts in the couple's relationship. The evidence point out the technology had negative impact on the couple's relationship, and the more frequent conflicts and low self-determination in the relationship would lead to the disconnection and separation. My second argument is the addiction to the internet may lead to psychological problems that disconnect people. Kimberly Young and Robert Roger point out the conclusion that addiction to the internet was associated with psychological impairment, especially depression. The researcher conducted online survey in several online sites and used some tests that to classify subject addiction to internet and diagnose the psychological condition. The result demonstrated that with increasing internet use, the subject would have low self-esteem, poor motivation, fear of rejection, and the need for approval associated with depression. The addiction would not only exert negative impact on daily work and study, but also trigger and the depressed emotion while interacting with people. As a result, with more and more people addicted with internet, the technology would continue to harm their psychological condition and interpersonal relationship in daily life. My third argument is internet trigger more severe cyberbullying. The researcher explored in one research that development on the internet not only contribute to more severe online cyberbullying, but also the different contribution on genders. The research conducted a questionnaire to about 300 adolescent participants who mostly came from the low-income family. By using the R-square and the p-value to analyze the data of daily internet use, cyberbullying, and traditional bullying data, the study firstly confirmed the previous result that the teenagers who are traditional bullying victims are also experiencing the bullies in cyber environment, and due to the characteristic of cyber environment including impersonation and less fear of being caught which contribute to more aggressive bullying online. This study support my argument that the internet would bring more severe cyberbullying and leads to aggressive as well as irresponsible relationship.
Veronica Dewey's argument one, cyberbullying can have a negative technology connection. Technology can negatively affect us, such as cyberbullying. And cyberbullying photos, videos, phone calls, email chat rooms, instant messaging, and websites are used to bully individuals. In the UK, ages from 11 to 19, 20% reported being cyberbullied. Even 30% of 5th to 8th graders said that they were initially said hurtful things through technology. Girls reported being a victim from cyberbullying more than males. However, in the United States, studies show that cyberbullying happens more frequently. From ages 13 to 18, 49% reported being a victim. From the Wired World survey, 70% of Canadians reported pretending to be who they weren't online because they can bully and not get in trouble. Sites have been used to rate an individual on their appearance, and this is used for dating. Many 8th grade to 11th grade girls reported using this site in the US. However, these girls lied about their age and spoke to older males. Many have had their self-esteem raised if the site was successful on their behalf. However, on the other hand, negative responses to these girls made them distressed. The negative consequences that cyberbullying has on victims should be considered a widespread mental and public health issue. 88% of adolescents were found to have access to mobile smartphones. A survey conducted a random sample of middle schoolers from the United States' largest school district. The survey found that the adolescents who are victims or offenders from cyberbullying are more likely to have suicidal thoughts and attempts. Some evidence suggests that increased internet usage is associated with adverse psychological effects. Crut et al. Studies found that higher levels of internet usage increased higher levels of depression. Cyberbullying not only causes distress, but also suicide or violent revenge. National Vital Statistics reports Suicide is the third leading cause of death among youth ranging from ages 15 to 24, according to Rigby and Sleep. The youth who are bullied or who bully tend to be at an elevated risk for suicidal attempts, thoughts, and completed suicides. Victims of cyberbullying and offenders proved to be much more likely to have attempting committing suicide due to the effects of bullying. Effects of bullying were found to be long term. Victims from bullying had poor general health, such as body pain, headaches, and weaker immune systems. Being a victim of bullying also was linked to chronic health problems found in adults. C-reactive protein levels raised from victimization of bullying, lower sympathetic inflammation in the body, and increase in risk of cardiovascular disease, metabolic disorders, and mental health problems occurred from victimization of bullying. Blood tests revealed that CPR levels of bullied adolescents increased as the times they had been bullied. The same blood tests carried out in adulthood showed that the CRP levels were twice as high than non-bullied individuals. Adults were found to have lower education qualifications and worse at financial management when they had been bullied. Victims also had made less than their peers at age 50. Victims were more likely to be antisocial, involved in illegal drug use, and convicted of a crime in adulthood. Argument 2, technology and catfishing crimes. According to the University of Southern California, research shows that 78% of Americans use cyberspace. With cyberspace comes dangers such as catfishing. Catfishing is luring a victim into a relationship with a fictional online person. Another danger is termed grooming. Grooming is preparing a child to meet through the internet. Reports done suggest 39% of people online claim they pretend who they are not online. 60% of teens claim receiving messages from strangers, and 50% claim to exchanging communication with them. Negative effects come from both the victims and offenders in catfishing. Researchers report that individuals who misrepresent themselves online had less well-developed social skills, lower self-esteem, and higher levels of social anxiety and aggression. It can cause emotional damage, but also cost victims millions of dollars each year. 45.5% of a survey sample reported that they had pretended to be someone they are not through the use of the internet. 64.3% of cyberbullies from the survey sample reported that they acted as if they were someone else because they thought they wouldn't get in trouble. Said the average victim scamming online lost about $3,000 a year. Scammers made their victims believe that they had strong feelings for them. Once the feelings were exchanged, they then would partake in identity theft or financial fraud. Scammers can now access more possible victims with more ease. These scammers use a variety of sources for their pictures to complete their profile. The internet also gave scammers access to personal information about their victims. They then would tend to go through sources online to find a suitable victim. Catfish who wanted to commit financial fraud targeting individuals who have good credit scores and easily accessible credit card and bank account information. Catfish will also pose if they are a minor to contact children in hopes to meet them. Meeting them could lead to abduction and possible trafficking. Argument 3, technology causes social isolation. When the internet is used during real-life social interaction, it has a negative effect. Researchers found that the internet can cause social isolation because the internet will replace face-to-face interactions. Surveys reported internet users spending less time with reading, walking, family, and friends. Harvard studies found that the internet can be socially isolating. A survey conducted with Australian seniors found the negative correlations such as loneliness and well-being were tied to internet use. The greater use of internet was found to have a negative outcomes such as lack of work ethic and decrease in significant relationships. As the use of the internet increased, social activities in the individual's life decreases, leading them to feel lonely. UCLA conducted a survey looking at 277 undergrads and their relations to internet usage. Individuals who consider themselves lonelier use the internet more often. The students in the study used the internet as a tool for their negative mood. However, it made their mood increase. So the students also reported internet usage disturbed their daily functioning.
Did you have an article on cyberbullying?
I do. It's not necessarily focusing directly on cyberbullying. However, it does talk about coping related to cyberbullying and social connectedness through the internet. While it does sound awful to say, there's an argument to be made that cyberbullying is just an extension of social connection through normal life, and that it is negative and harmful, but it's still connection through the internet socially from a bully to a victim. And this article I have here talks about how research in a study from 2016 shows that social connectedness through the internet has a protective influence on coping intentions in response to cyber victimization. And it goes on to talk about how people who are more socially connected through the internet are more likely to actively cope with cyberbullying or other victimization, as opposed to engaging in emotion-focused coping, which is linked to poorer mental health. And it also goes on to say that those who are more socially connected to the internet reported better mental health.
Can I ask what your third argument was really quick?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
It was technology can cause social isolation.
I just want to, like, my first argument was communication relies solely on location in order to, like, it depends on location in order to, which form of communication you're going to use. So, you're saying that the internet causes, what'd you say, social isolation? Communication can help, like, I don't know, if just using the internet to send a quick text, be like, hey, where are you at? Do you want to meet up? I mean, that's social interaction. That's through the internet. That's through technology. But if you're just trying to meet up with someone face to face, like technology, we use technology today in order to see people face to face. Like, hey, what are you doing? Like, where are you at? You want to hang out tonight? So on and so forth. Like, even if it's not used that much, it still helps us connect with face to face interactions. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. I felt like I ran it for a second.
Alrighty, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.